Thank you, Helmut, and thank you for everyone coming here today to London. Please wait while we play some music. Ah, there it is. Great, thank you. So, why I was particularly excited to accept this invite is that finally someone thought about putting London back on the map for domains. And actually quite a lot has happened in London, like the first website has been built here, and but then London somehow got forgotten. Does someone still remember ICANN London? How many years is that ago? Well, I can't remember, and definitely it was too long, and today we make an end to it and celebrate London as a domain capital that it is. And let me ask, who has been traveling more than 1 hour by plane to come here? More than 2 hours? More than 4 hours? More than 8 hours? Wow, that's still quite a few. So again, thank you for coming here to celebrate London as a capital for domains. My name is Michael Riedl. I've been in domains for a very long time. I registered my first domain name back in 1997 and later lost it because Network Solutions, who can still remember them, advised me to just let it expire and re-register it because it would be cheaper than paying the redemption fee, which was a $10,000 mistake. Anyway, today basically, because it is the motto of this event, I'm not going really to sell CentralNic as an investment, which is what I spend most of my time with, touring all the investor conferences of the world and telling the CentralNic story. So I focus much more on CentralNic and its role in the domain industry with a particular English angle to it. And so the first section is looking at the evolution. More than 25 years in domain names. CentralNic was actually started in 1996, still under the name of Name Nation, if I remember correctly. And 25 years is, of course, a very long time. Well, 1996, actually, arithmetically, 27 years, which is a very long time in domain names, even though domain names will celebrate their 40th birthday this year, invented in 1983. But it all started with selling subdomains to UK.com. And what you see here is the first server on which we ran our own registry. I think it still has an Intel 8386 processor inside, things that we can hardly remember today. And everything was manual. Domains had to be approved by a person until the year 2000. And it was only then in 2004 that the system was more automated when Gavin Brown, is he here today? Well, if he's not here now, he should still come. Basically took CentralNic or our registry platform to the next level, which then helped us to materially expand the domain space before the first so-called NGLT round back in 2012. There were only 275 domain names, like generics like comnet, biz.org, info, and all the different country codes, .uk to start with. And through this revolution, We now took it to today. I think we have 1,535 top-level domains, 99% of which can be registered automatically through CentralNic websites, and which has then allowed to grow this gigantic market of more than 32 million new top-level domains, out of which CentralNic manages roughly 45%. And why is this relevant today? 32 million domain names still means almost 10% of all domain names in existence are new top-level domains. And let's see what the next ICANN meeting brings, but it seems the wait is slowly coming to an end, and maybe already in 2026 we will see a second round of new top-level domains, which will then help us again expand our industry and hopefully enable many creative innovators and entrepreneurs to build new businesses, either by building up a new registry for a new top-level domain, or to just come up with fantastic ideas for new second-level domains to operate some exciting business. But CentralNic is not only in new top-level domains, or it's not just operating new top-level domains as a back-end. CentralNic, having been started in London and still residing in London, we of course always have London close to our heart, and this is why for.london, a top-level domain specifically for the city. Pardon? Yes, and the summit, correct. And so here we've actually built a website that, or built a service where we actually provided for free websites for people who registered a .london domain name. And also then later in 2021, we then basically took over doing the technical operations of .london and take over the marketing of the top-level domains. And who of you has registered a GeoTLD? Which I think is surprisingly few. We have some 200 people in this room, and I think I didn't see 10 hands up. And still today we see that I think Tokyo is currently the leading new top-level, or the leading city TLD by domain count. Then followed by others like NYC, Berlin. I think London only comes on the 5th place, and I think Tokyo is the only one that has more than 100,000 registrations. And maybe we can later have a discussion. Why is it that even large cities with millions of inhabitants and all the gravity that they create cannot generate more than a couple of 10,000 of domain registrations? Another project that we've done for the UK is a collaboration with JISC. JISC stands for Joint Information Systems Committee and is operating a few generic subdomains of .uk and some of the constituent kingdoms of the UK, which is of course then again a critical component. Probably quite a few of you have already used gov.uk domain names or any websites under gov.uk, where you find all the valuable government services that are provided here in this country. And again, being a good corporate citizen, we want to help the government to run efficient processes. I think digitalizing administration is a challenge that the entire planet has. The UK wants to take a lead here, and this is why we're excited to help the government with this initiative. Another thing where the UK is on the forefront is the Crown Commercial Service, which is basically centralizing procurement for IT services, and among them critical domain services. For these critical domain services, CentralNic is proud that we've been selected as one out of only 2 providers globally to provide these services to the UK government. And I think it is something very, very interesting that has been done here. I know that there's a similar initiative in the Philippines, where also the government tries to centralize all the procurement for these services to make it more efficient. Currently in the Philippines, there are still 300 different government authorities, all doing their own shopping for AWS, domain service, and others. But also here, we're not only excited that we've won this potentially big piece of business, we also wanted to support the government again, because we think it's the right initiative to centralize and try to run a country just as efficient as any company would do. And many of you run companies, and of course you would not let all of your departments do their own shopping for domain names or sign up their own Amazon, Google Cloud, or whatever hosting contracts. And the government is just doing the same thing here in the UK. Great initiative, and we're happy to be part of it. Next topic, or maybe taking this to a more general, not specific UK level, basically the value of public-private partnerships. And because we want to help governments driving their digital agenda, we've also operated many projects outside the UK. So for example, we have the governments of Laos, Myanmar, Bahrain, South Africa, and even Greenland to operate the top-level domains or design the policies for the top-level domains. We see that in many countries the top-level domains are still materially underdeveloped compared to others, given that very restrictive policies have been put into place. And here we try to advocate for an open and liberal policy that actually allows everyone who has a legitimate interest in a domain name to own one. And one of these partnerships that has probably gone the deepest is our partnership with the Slovak government, where since 2017 we outright own the rights to .sk, the top-level domain of Slovakia. And under our watch, the domain count has now grown to more than 400,000. And again, the ability for each and every resident of the country with a legitimate interest to register the domain name that they need is critical to the digital agenda of all governments. And this is why also the Slovak government was happy to work with us. And because we are not only about profit, of course we have to deliver some, else the shareholders would not be too happy. We basically give away 5% of all the registration and renewal revenues of .sk domain names into a fund, whether the government-run committee decides on the deployment of these, which then includes topics like inclusive access to the internet in Slovakia. And again, something that is for us is more than just business, where it's really about conviction and trying to enable a digitally enabled economy. And the same then also holds true for our initiative with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. The UNHCR has a very broad portfolio of domain names, given that they're basically operating on a global scale. And here CentralNic is also helping this organization to manage the wealth of all the domain names that they have registered over this planet. Something which we also do commercially for companies. So we help the likes of Johnson & Johnson, Mercedes-Benz, and many others to manage all the different domain names around all the brands that they have in all the different countries. But here, of course, we are doing it for a not-for-profit. And again, take pride in the fact that we help protecting the rights of refugees to the best of our abilities, which is then around domain names. And of course you can imagine how much bad a fraudster could do if they would basically replicate legitimate looking websites where refugees might turn to, be subject to misinformation and take severe damage from it. So this is why we are really happy to do this project. So we first talked about the UK in special, in more especially than the wider globe more widely, and let's look a bit into the future. What are future challenges? And security is a massive topic that's very important to us. Because domain names can be used for good, and domain names can be used for evil, as spam hosts, phishing websites, and many more purposes that a good-hearted person like me could not even think of. And this is why going forward we will focus very much on security. And for example, we are part of the Alliance for Cybersecurity. But while the team has put security on this page as the core topic, I think as an industry we need to think wider. Security is of course key, but so is our climate footprint, and we are today a very fragmented value chain. I mentioned 1,500 different top-level domains, more than 4,000 ICANN-accredited registrars. And if we try to fight climate change on this fragmented scale, we will struggle, because each of us is too small to really make an impact. And this is why I and a few other executives from larger domain companies intend to call for a summit at the ICANN meeting in Hamburg later this year, where we want to sit together and really think, how can we unite our efforts, how can we bundle our efforts for true impact of the domain industry on climate. Luckily, our climate footprint is relatively reasonable, but everyone has to get it down to zero. If not everyone is working towards that goal, we will ultimately fail, and this is something that we cannot let happen. And this is why I'm already excited to hopefully in a few weeks make another announcement on the subject and convene for a dedicated meeting around ESG, starting not only touching cybersecurity but also other topics like the ecology. And together, I'm pretty sure we can make an impact. So, moving from the serious topic of using domain names for good, in the wider sense of ESG, you can also use domain names for good by making some money. And those who have followed CentralNic will know that today online marketing is a very important part of CentralNic too. And actually with domain names you can make outright money. Many domain names just have a natural influx of traffic, either people typing it into the browser bar or there are expired links. And where is the link now between the security topic and domain parking? Domain parking is basically using the traffic for good. We are identifying commercials which match the interests of the user, basically getting the user closer to the type of content that they've been looking for. So if someone owns bicycle.com, you enter bicycle.com, ads for bicycles or bicycle-related services are actually in your interest. And it is definitely better than someone building a phishing website on these kind of properties. This is why every domain name that's being parked means one entry point less for scammers and cyber squatters to actually use that domain name for illegitimate services. And with our main advertising partner, Google, we assure that each ad that is being displayed is for a brand safe service. Next frontier, data and AI, and you've probably already guessed it. No presentation in 2023 can end without a few slides on artificial intelligence. And I should say artificial intelligence is a topic that has been at the core of CentralNic for a very long time. And when we speak about artificial intelligence, everyone is now talking about only one specific subcategory of artificial intelligence, which is generative AI, driven by large language models. But AI is actually a very old subject, and now everyone is very fascinated by generative AI. But earlier forms like machine learning are basically at the core of virtually all products that we operate today. We as a group employ somewhere between 800 and 900 people. However, when we add together all the domain names that touch one of CentralNic services, where we are the registry backend provider or the registrar or serve as the name server in domain parking, we talk about somewhere between 45 and 50 million domain names. And obviously, if you want to manage this kind of number of domain names with so few people, you need a lot of automation. You need machines learning what they should do in a controlled environment. And this is why machine learning was always at the core of CentralNic. And this is why we also have a dedicated head of AI, Dr. Pavel Reshunsky, and he's not here, is he, today? No, unfortunately not. But maybe at another occasion we can bring him to another domain day. He's also part of the Forbes Technology Council, a big accolade in the data science environment. And basically under the team, the wider team in CentralNic has done a lot of work pooling all the fragmented, I will just call them data puddles, into one big data lake that can now be analyzed and which helps us providing even better service for our customers in whatever kind of area in which CentralNic serves its customers. And he also represents CentralNic on many occasions as a speaker. Then, of course, on a more specific subject of data science and AI. And I just invite you to follow him for now on LinkedIn. But again, as I promised, we will make sure that he will attend some more domain events so that more of you could actually meet him and see him perform in person. Then, what specifically have we done? And I should say we've done many things, but not all the things that we've done with generative AI as the last or latest evolution of AI are visible to the public eye. But one of the things that many bloggers have picked up on is our AI-based domain search, where rather than coming up with the typical alternatives that today's domain spinners would do, like adding a 24 to the end or trying to replace .com with .info, which is not necessarily very helpful. This tool is actually using the richness of human language to come up with much more creative alternative solutions. For example, you look for dogwalker.com and it might suggest walk the dog. .com because it really understands the structure of the word and can then come up with true alternatives. And it's quite interesting because it's not only a cool feature. Also for us as a company, it is very successful and has notably driven up the conversion rates on our retail registrar page, internet.bs, where we rolled it out first. And this is also why we are now making this available over the course of the next couple of months on all our retail portals, so that everyone can enjoy the benefits of this tool. And other applications that you could actually see with the human eye are in another part of CentralNic. Those who know CentralNic a bit closer will know that we are also operating the leading product review website for German-speaking Europe, vergleich.org, where it's also very helpful because this AI now helps us going into niches that otherwise with manual content creation we've never gone to. And it also allows us to create more variants of our articles so that we can actually share them with more different white-level partners. So here in this business, we take particular pride in the fact that large publishers like Axel Springer in Germany are using our content to run their own product review portals. And with more AI, we can basically offer that service to more different publishers than we could before. And helping more and more consumers making educated choices before they buy something which they have to return to Amazon to make the right pick in the first place. Again, reducing logistic costs and hence also carbon footprint. So here even AI has an immediate impact on the carbon footprint that we all want to get down, which is then one of the puzzle pieces for the total equation to get it down to zero at some point in the next decade. Well, this takes us to the end of the slides that the team has prepared. Again, thank you all for coming here. Thank you for celebrating London as a hotspot for domain names. And actually, there are quite a few domain companies here who either work in domain names or affiliated services or in online marketing. And this is why great initiative. Helmut, thank you again. And I'm now open to questions. Thank you.
So if anybody has a question, I'll pass the microphone. 111. Yes. Has anybody got a question? Yes. So you'll be next, yes.
Hello, I'm David Barnett from Stobbs IP, so I kind of work on the kind of boundary between brand protection and kind of legal IP services. I'm really interested that you mentioned the sort of AI tools that people like you guys are bringing out to suggest domain names that people might want to register. I'm just interested to know a little bit more about whether there are any measures put in place in those types of systems so that the systems don't suggest domain names that would be infringing intellectual property or suggesting domain names that include things like trademark terms.
Right. So we need these controls anyway, whether the domain name was invented by a human being or by AI. So this is why every domain name created, whether it was just conceived in an epiphany by a human being or machine produced by a large language model through the same processes on compliance, which then also includes many other things than just trademark infringements, also all other kinds of abuse controls. But good question. Of course, all these controls that we already have for human-created domain names also must apply to AI-created domain names.
Hey, Michael. Joe Alani with IT.com. I'm just curious today what % of revenues at CentralNic come from domain names and what % come from other?
Right. So that's not a massive secret. So in the first half of this year, a little bit more than 22% of our global revenue came from domain names and domain-related services, whether as a registrar, as a registry backend provider. And online marketing is today the largest revenue driver, but still also online marketing is all based on domain names. Without domain names, the internet would not be the place that we all know, and this is why domain names will always stay close to our heart.
Thank you. Anybody? Yes, James Williams, Mobile Ecosystem Forum.
Thank you very much, Helmut. My name is James Williams, Director of Programs with a trade organization called the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. We've got large mobile operator groups, banks, the largest business messaging companies in the world, and also IT.com as a member. My question is regarding the world of fraud. We're talking about fraud or consumer protection, ultimately doing the right thing. Now, coming from the business messaging world, trillions of business messaging transactions take place annually, whether that's being sent via email, via SMS, WhatsApp, for business, Apple, any channel such as that. And a huge number of the fraud attempts made involve a domain name. Now, talking about tracking domain names, what they're being used for, in our telecoms world, the world I come from, if someone is looking to use, let's say, a range of 10,000 numbers, so they're wanting to rent or buy a number range from me for 10,000 numbers, I'd like to know, what are you going to do with that number range? But to me, unless I'm wrong, there are zero controls in the domain name world. I could come to any one of your organizations, buy 10,000 domains, which are as close to FedEx, DHL, any brand as possible, and use them for whatever I want to use them for with no recourse. Have I got that wrong, or is that correct? And if I am correct, is the industry going to be doing anything to actually protect consumers around the world? Because that's, for me, is a huge glaring hole in the world of anti-fraud. It's a big question, I know. Sorry.
Yes, it's a big question. So the answer is 42. Getting fun apart, it is of course a very legitimate and critical question. And the industry has actually given itself some tools like the trademark clearinghouse in the NTLD. When the first NTLD round was rolled out, and we should probably go back and study whether the trademark clearinghouse was as effective as it should have been. And if we come to the conclusion that it wasn't as effective as intended, we need to look into the root causes why that is. And then hopefully do better on the second round of new top-level domains.
Thank you. Andrew Bennett.
Hi, Michael. Andrew Bennett from Netisrar Limited. We're an ICANN accredited registrar. You mentioned the second round of new GTLDs coming in 2016. I just wondered what kinds of applications are you expecting to see in those extensions? In the previous round, a lot of brands applied but seem to have given up on running those extensions. So do you see sort of geo domains or IDN domains or generic words that the people are applying through CentralNic now or interested in applying for new GTLDs?
Thank you for the question. And first, it's not 2016. Time travel is still not possible, but it will be 26. So we still have to be a bit patient. So when we look at the last round, I think the last round was very much influenced by a conviction that Google would give generic words in the top-level domain a very high weight in the algorithms. And while some SEO experts claim that there is actually a small some signal, it is a very soft one. So if you want to sell horses, .horse might help you a little bit, but it will only help you a very little bit, because Google looks at 200 other factors which probably make up 99.9% of the weight of the page rank that you will be assigned. And this is why we see so many keyword-driven new top-level domains in the last round. And when I look back at that time, there was a guy who's a very good and long-term customer of ours, I should say a friend, Daniel Negari. He went on stage at the Domain Fest 2014. And he said, yeah, hey guys, you all know me because of .college, but I will tell you one thing. I have the best top-level domain of all, which is .xyz. And it's the best because it's the most generic and the shortest and the most memorable you could imagine. And you could literally see the crowd killing him with their eyes, and he was right. So a generic domain should, maybe as the name suggests, be generic, so be open to a very broad use. I mentioned the example of city TLDs, which have, well, it offers depends on the expectations, but I think they have not met the expectations of their sponsors, where cities like London, I think, have created 35,000 .london domain names. Berlin, with, let's say, half the London population, has at least gotten to 50,000, but also probably way below the expectations. And in Tokyo, well, no one knows really how many people are there in Tokyo, but it's definitely more than London and Berlin together. They have then made the 100,000 threshold. And so my expectation is the herd is always following the trend. I think that unless we do a lot of marketing effort and come up with creative ideas what to do with it, probably city TLDs will be few. Because if London cannot get to or struggles getting to a critical mass, how would smaller cities ever get there? And then there is just a very broad array of short domain names. So there are 17,576 three-letter combinations using the Latin alphabet. Only 70 out of them have been registered in the first round, which means like still 99.6% or so are still available. Is that right, or is it even 99.96%? Anyway, it's only very little, so I think here more people will probably fill that space in the next round, and then I would hope that still corporates come back to the game, even though by today I think like every second .brand, as they were coined, has been retired or sunset. It was maybe our mistake as an industry to not bring the right recipes with it, just sell the product, not a vision what to do with the product. Many large companies for whom the application fees were like a rounding error in their accounts have jumped on it. I think for the next round we need to be, all of us as industry need to be smarter to first sell them the vision. What could they do, and then sell them the product. Else we might again convince a few people to spend the money, but then see them retire. But I'm still truly optimistic that there can be proper use cases. We just learned about cybersecurity or fraud. if I would be a manager at the FIFA, I would maybe think about having like a .FIFA and make sure that every club gets assigned a .FIFA website where it's then clear, if you buy a ticket here, you're not ending up with a scammer, but you really are at a FIFA approved website of whether it's FC Barcelona or whoever. Not sure whether we can convince people like these to actually go down that route. But I think, again, I'm convinced. I'm convinced that there are legitimate and valuable purposes to have a .brand. We just need to educate the people that they buy it because of that vision, not only because they think, yeah, okay, let's just do it and then retire it later. And if we, so that was now a very long answer to this question. Again, it's a bit speculative, but I would expect that there will be many new generic and rather short new top-level domains. Still a few .brands. Whether anyone would still sponsor a .city, I'm not sure.
End user, I would be concentrating on strategies on how to get these new extensions into more sort of mainstream sort of acceptance. I mean, that's what I'm looking at personally as I say, an end user and a sort of a domain investor, is how I can get my domains and these other extensions that I have adopted as well out into sort of the mainstream, community, wider community.
Well,
It's just a comment really, more than anything.
well, but it's a comment that I would like to pick up on. And I'm not sure whether we have any ICANN representatives in the room today. So we had replication fees for new top-level domains. We have fixed fees for every new top-level domain. We have per domain year fees for every new top-level domain. And it may have been a good idea by ICANN to put some of that money into marketing purposes to really let the world know, hey, look guys, there's more than .com. Sorry, very resign. I was, of course, we also love .com. But they haven't. And maybe that's something to consider and to advocate for at future ICANN meetings, that at least some of this money goes to marketing and promoting new top-level domains. Because I'm still quite sure that many end users out there would not even know that this exists or whether it's legitimate. People who might be scared if they see some kind of new top-level domain and just think, oh, is this legitimate? It's not .com. Better not click here. So good, very astute comment. Thank you for this. I think it's a major oversight of the past, and just like with the trademark clearinghouse, we need to see how this works for the second round. We also should advocate towards allocating some of the budget that will be spent by the registry operators on promoting new top-level domains as something legitimate and a cool addition to the internet.
And thank you, Michael. Thank you. And what is the best? Yes, of course. And also, you are a CEO at a very successful and large organization. So if people, our attendees, participants, want to contact you, what is the best way?
I might still have a few minutes after this, but then unfortunately need to run back to the office for some day-to-day duties. But I plan to come back. I come to the socializing drinks tonight. And other than that, just contact me on LinkedIn and as a first starting point, and then we'll see from there. Thank you all.
Thank you.